have this, but it looks like the Public Works Department has managed to tear up every major thoroughfare in Omaha simultaneously. I don't know if anybody's not signed in, but please do if you haven't, and we can begin. I'm Jim Kavanaugh, Douglas County Commissioner. This is the Health and Human Service Committee meeting, Thursday, October 24th, 2019. And we're joined here by my colleague, Commissioner Claire Duda. Claire, thank you for coming. We have kind of a interesting agenda, at least from my point of view, today. General Assistance, Melissa Suick and Jackie Neighbors joining us to talk about the General Assistance Biennial Guideline Review, General Assistance Program Update, and we can go to other things as they may occur to us from there, but I wanted to pass around this information from General Assistance on the Biennial Guideline Review, how topical, that you were kind enough to bring today. And I wanted to turn this over to you. We've had some discussions just kind of preliminarily regarding the guidelines and review, and General Assistance holds, is that an annual that I attended at your office?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. And I'll just let you maybe start with that and explain to people how that goes, and then we can get into this, which is kind of a product of that.
Okay. So every 2 years, we are state mandated to have a biennial guideline review where we go over our department guidelines. We seek feedback from the community members, staff, landlords, clients. Overall, we sent out just under 1,000 invitations to different people within the community. We have 2 public forums that we host on site at our department, and then we have a public hearing that we opened up October 1st, and we will go back in November and accept feedback one more time and then close it at that time. We have all of our guidelines posted at all the local libraries, at all the city clerk's offices within our county, at the commissioner's office, on our site, sheriff's office, so it's readily available for everybody to go ahead and access. At our public forums, we had 3 landlord representatives that attended, which is pretty common. We usually don't get a whole lot of feedback as far as people physically showing up, but we did get people emailing, calling. The general topic that they wanted to discuss was a rental increase. That was pretty much the main topic that we heard feedback-wise from the community, and then also from our staff.
Melissa, may I ask who the 3 landlords were? Not that it really matters, but...
We had 2 representatives from Lindenwood,
okay.
And then we had 1 landlord representative that attended, didn't give his name, and then left. We just knew he was a landlord representative.
Very good, thank you.
So currently we pay the max benefit per month is $500, and that's rent and utilities included. And we are proposing to raise that to $600. We do a rent survey every month, or every guideline review, and based on what we were finding, the average studio or 1 bedroom exceeds $600. Right now it's about $623, so we're proposing to raise it to $600, and that will open it up to about 17% of the market. Right now we're at 3% of the market at $500. We just raised it in effective 2016. Prior to that, it was 10 years that we have raised our rent. So we're kind of playing catch up right now. So that's why it seems, we've raised it kind of almost back to back, which seems a lot, but based on where we were, it's definitely needed in the community.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We hadn't raised our rent for 10 years, and then we raised it effective 2016, we went from $400 to $500. And then now we're proposing to raise it from 500 to 600.
Okay. We touched on this, I think, at the forum relative to possible input that we could get from, metropolitan realtors, people who represent kind of apartment landlord type folks, to get a feel for that market. It seems to me that, even if we go from 500 to 600, we're still pretty low down on the affordable housing market. And I don't know if we were able to make any outreach to them since that, to maybe get an input. They must have some type of, or maybe you already do, industry figure on what's the median rent number in the metropolitan area. Do we know?
We reached out to the Diversified Housing Group that is housed through Metro Area Continuum Care for the Homeless, the match group that we discussed. And we threw out the number of 600, and they thought that was doable for right now, based on where we are. The one concern we have is if we continue to raise our rent and not really have any standards behind our rent, is that we are going to continue to make slumlords richer. So we are going to have landlords that have very substandard housing that our clients are choosing to live in because it's better than the streets.
Right.
And if we are going to be paying them $500 or $600 because we don't really have any requirements as far as the standard of living that they have to do. So what our goal is to move it up to $600 this year, and then over the next 2 years really focus on building those landlord relations, working on bettering our relationship with landlords, but also having some type of requirement just internally as far as what that looks like, a standard of living, where understanding that it's not going to be where most likely I would want to live, but for our clientele it's going to be suitable. It's going to have, running water. There's not going to be mold. There's not going to be holes in the floor, things like that. Just suitable housing. So that's where we really want to focus on.
That's good. We have, I think in recent years, at least as long as I've been looking at this, had a general assistance budget that was under-expended. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. In the most recent past fiscal year, what was that amount that was not expended by general assistance?
14%.
I'm sorry?
14%. We returned 14% of the budget.
Okay, and what was that in dollars?
800,000.
Say again?
800,000.
800,000. And has that been kind of consistently in the 800,000 million range?
I am not sure. We've consistently returned. I'm not positive on the exact number of that
Okay.
we've returned.
It just strikes me, and Joe, maybe you know, that we've got that kind of ballpark figure coming back every year.
It's always been, I think, at least in that 500,000 to million range, yeah.
Yeah, and we can reduce it, but it's a crapshoot. You just never know what you're
This
gonna
year,
get.
we don't, our budget has been reduced every year,
Yeah.
and, which is good, but this year, we don't have a lot of wiggle room, and I don't foresee us returning the amount of money that we've been returning right now. We're right on track. When we look at our budget, in September, we pulled it, we were at 24% of spending, so we were right where we needed to be. We budgeted for a rental increase, and right now, as far as rent line item, we are at 23%. So I don't foresee us returning the amount of money. Not that we would be spending additional funds, it's just, if you're returning each year.
You gotta tighten up the budget. You gotta make sure that, it's a crapshoot though, because you really don't know, right?
Right.
But you have history, so you can
Right.
say, if this history is so long in time, there's a consistent pattern. So Joe can look at it and say, okay, we're gonna set your budget at X to try to make it as to what we think. And then if you end up returning something, then you do, but it's just we try to make that estimate as close as possible.
Right. I know, I'm not saying we would go over our budget at all. I'm just saying, as far as what we'd be returning, I don't foresee it being, just based on what our numbers are. Our client numbers are higher. And if we do this rent increase. I think what we've budgeted this year is very fair as far as what our expenditures are, is a good estimate.
And the other thing that they do, which I give them credit for, is if they don't spend it, they return it. Well, there's other offices out there that if they don't spend it, they encumber it.
And if we have that money returned, then if somebody else comes back for supplemental,
Right.
then we have that money to do it, like
Right.
corrections or.
Right.
or whatever.
So just to kind of drill down on that a little bit. You give us some Douglas County Department of General Assistance snapshot information here, which is great. It's always good to have, you know, kind of baseline where you start. And getting down to the numbers, the dollars that we're talking about, and maybe I'm missing it someplace else. I'm seeing that we have the reimbursement dollars that we received from SSI, Medicaid, restitution, and others, totaling $457,000 and change for FY 18-19. And it looks like that's pretty consistent going back to FY 17-18. But that doesn't include your general budget number, which is what?
Our general budget this year was, is estimated at $5.8 million.
Okay. And that's the 19-20
Yes,
fiscal year. And give me that again.
5.8 million.
Okay. And in the 18-19, just so that we can kind of same this, what was that number?
6.2 million is what we budgeted, and then we returned the 14%, which was the $800,000.
Okay. So, if you take this proposed increase, that's the bulk of what you're proposing in terms of different spending than you had in FY 18-19, is this rent subsidy going from 500 to 600?
Yes.
Okay. What's that number, if you did that?
If we do it, I'm estimating it will not, increase our budget for the remainder of the fiscal year. $150,000 would be the max increase.
How much, I'm sorry?
$150,000 for the remainder of the fiscal year. So that'd be January through June, because it wouldn't go into effect until January. And then for fiscal year 2021, it'd be, max would be $300,000, based on our 18-19 numbers.
Okay, let me see if I got this right. So, if we approve the 500 to 600 rent subsidy number for fiscal year 19-20, that would increase your expenditures on your $5.8 million budget by $150,000. Now, that's taking into account the fact that your 18-19 budget of $6.2 million returned $800,000.
And when we budgeted for 19-20, we planned on a rent increase. So the funds are already in there. We have the money
Right.
in there. So it won't negatively affect our budget at all.
No, I can see that. I mean, you know, you're not like coming down 800,000 from your 6.2 18-19 budget. You're coming down 400,000. So presumably, you know, with no expenditure increase on any other level, you're still 400,000 under what the $5.8 million would, if nothing changed, if you stayed at 500, right? Just trying to do this math so it makes sense to me, and I'm not a wizard when it comes to this. You're spending $500 a month in rent subsidies in 18-19 on a $6.2 million budget, and you return 800,000.
Yes.
So you reduce the budget for 19-20 by 400,000, and you increase the rent subsidies by 150,000. If you do that and do no other big, we're not hiring a lot of new people, we're not spending a lot on anything else, you still would come under the number that you expended in 18-19.
Other than their payrolls increased 3% too.
Okay, so what's that number?
I don't have it right in front
If
of
we
me.
know, I mean, if we don't, then we can get this. You see the calculation that I'm trying to get to?
I do know.
But it's not what was expended, it's what was budgeted that you're comparing to in 18-19.
Well, two things. I mean, we know that the budget is 5.8. We know that the budget was 6.2. We know that the 6.2 budget resulted in 800,000 turnback, 14%. We know that the increase of the subsidy from 500 to 600 will increase that expenditure by 150,000. So the budget overall, the general budget, was reduced 400,000. Presumably, if nothing changed, if payroll didn't change, rent didn't change, nothing changes, that would take your turn back from 800,000 to 400,000. But those things have changed. You see what I'm trying to get to the bottom line is, okay, factor all that in. Are we turning back? Are we breaking even? I mean, that's where I'm trying to get at the end of the day.
I thought you said that the way you're tracking, including everything, that you think you're gonna come in essentially at budget.
Yes, right now we're tracking
It looks like you're coming in at 5.8.
yes, right now we're tracking right at 24%.
Okay.
That was September, which we're right on track where we should be.
Well, it sounds like you have always included in the budget some room for unanticipated growth, and you've had some unanticipated growth this year, and now you're sitting about right on the budget.
Yes.
Okay. And Joe, or Melissa, if you have the increased personnel number, I'd like that.
And see, what gets them, unlike a lot of, they're not a general fund department, so if it's general fund, it's just an increase in payroll. But when they're a separate fund like they are, it's an increase in payroll and benefits, the pensioner, which is equal to 35% of payroll. So that's all in their budget, which for all the departments that are in the general fund, we just consolidate it and take it, and it never hits the departmental budget. But if you're a separate fund, and there's like 6 or 7 of them, then the benefits are within their budget too.
Right. So that's some number, and
Yeah.
we'll get that number, and, you know, if you're coming in basically at $5.8 million, well,
And
that's,
salary wise, we're fine. We're not, I still haven't hired for the position I was previously in, and we're down in other staff, so budget wise, we are fine. I have no concerns there.
so your authorized level of personnel, your 18-19 level, you're saying is 4 above what you actually have right now. Is that, am I hearing that correctly?
Is it 4 above?
Well, you have two.
Authorized positions.
There's
Oh,
two vacancies.
Yes.
One, you'll definitely fill yours as soon as
Yes.
possible, and the other one is the other one.
It's just a tech position,
You're
social
gonna fill
services
it, you're
tech
gonna fill that
position.
at some point.
We're waiting. We're just seeing where our numbers fall. Right now, we don't really see the need for it, but, we may have to based on our clientele. We're just kind of waiting to see what happens.
So how many people work there right now?
We have 32 people,
Okay. And you have how many vacant positions?
2,
And one of them is your old position?
yes, which will get filled.
But you're planning on putting people in those
Yes.
spots? Okay. Great. So, Claire, anybody? Anything else?
So,
Okay.
and I see food's going from 75 to 80.
Yeah.
That seems appropriate.
Yes.
Now,
Although, people go clothing shopping at the Dollar General, that one
Yes.
floored me.
So
I don't
we-
shop much, but
Yeah.
you can get clothes there?
Right, so if we can we move to the other items?
right,
One of the other items that we are looking to change, so our clients are eligible for a clothing voucher every 6 months. Currently, the amount is $75 that they get, and that clothing voucher is for Dollar General. We have worked with Dollar General in the past because they do not allow alcohol or tobacco products. That has since changed, they do allow that. But we have struggled to find, department that would work with us. We have, we get about $2,000 a year through Walmart. They will not work with any government agency on a larger scale, so that's pretty much where we're cut off, where we are able to purchase that through a credit card. They weren't, so we can't meet that, our full client need through Walmart. Ideally, we would like to do that, so we're pretty much limited to Dollar General, that's why we do that. So they have clothing there, very limited basis. Most of our clients use it probably for some other household goods. The thing with Walmart, they're in $10 increments, therefore we have to give them $80. So we'd like to bump that amount to $80 and then just make it a universal $80 that everybody's getting to make it fair for all of our clientele.
So if I understand, you would take it up to $80 and you would say you can use this in any store?
No, we give them Dollar General cards to the people that can fit Dollar General sizes, and people that are larger sizes, we give them the Walmart cards, and then they can go to Walmart and shop there for their clothing.
Why don't you just do Walmart for everybody?
Because we cannot, they won't work with the county, no.
Why?
They will not work with any government agency, they will not have an account.
Did they say why?
No, we've had,
It's just a
yeah.
matter of policy.
Yeah.
They don't have to
So
say
they'll,
why.
yeah. So we can purchase, they can purchase on a credit card and we can get small amounts, but not at all to meet the need
Well,
of our
that's too bad.
clients. Right.
That's too bad.
We're looking to see if we can maybe partner with Goodwill or something to have a clothing voucher.
I would think
with them,
Goodwill would be
but-
better than Dollar General, I mean.
Right.
At least for clothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we tried,
Our
a
Salvation
few
Army.
years ago, in their old management, they didn't wanna work with us, but we haven't approached their new management yet, so.
That's crazy. I would love to know why they don't wanna work with us.
But that was with the previous management, before they had all the
I mean,
turnover.
money's money.
Yeah.
Are they don't wanna take money from certain people?
I think it was just the maybe the hassle of a gift card, I don't know. But that was the previous management, but that's on my to-do list to follow up with the new staffing to see if they would be willing to partner with us.
I'm sorry, but now are you talking about Walmart or Goodwill?
Goodwill,
Okay, fine.
Goodwill.
Okay. After Frank Marie.
Okay, so you wanna increase the clothing voucher from $75 every 6 months to $80 every 6 months?
Yes,
And to increase the places where you could use that from Dollar General to,
as our guidelines are not specific to who they're used for, it's just the amount. We are going to pursue, other organizations or businesses internally,
oh,
but that doesn't affect the guidelines at all.
okay,
It's just the amount that's received by the client.
right. And in 18-19, what did we expend in clothing vouchers?
I don't know that off the top of my head because we track our Dollar General just in one lump sum, and our clients get a $25 non-food voucher from Dollar General every month. I can get back to you with that total, I do not
Okay.
have that off the top of my head.
It would be probably 6,000, right, if every client got 2 a year. So,
Yeah, but I know they don't all pick them up, so.
Yeah.
We go through about 15 to 20,000 a month,
60,
Okay,
a month, I'd say.
so maybe going forward on kind of this snapshot sheet, it would be helpful if we could possibly see those kinds of expenditure breakouts. So we have a rent subsidy expenditure breakout, we have a clothing allowance expenditure breakout, just to kind of give us again, a baseline going forward. But then if you could, just drop me a email or something on what it was for those in 18-19 and going forward, that would be great.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay,
And then I wanted to go back to the rent, just we have different levels of rent we pay, for different housing. And there's another rent that we are trying to increase just to make it fair. We're trying to increase the shared living by $50 to increase it to $300. we have, what we call boarding and rooming house and shared living. Those are pretty much the same thing, but we pay different amounts, and we just wanna get those to an equal $300 per month,
When's the last time those were increased?
in 2016.
Okay.
And those are typically just if somebody's living with their mom,
Sure.
couch surfing, any of those,
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Is that amount included in this 150,000 expenditure that we were
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So when we do the breakout, maybe, give us the categories on that, that would be helpful as well.
Okay, I can do that. The next topic is exempt income. Right now, we have, a few categories of exempt income. So if our client would be, working in a job training program, they get a stipend, of $50 per week for that. We do not count that against them as income. We have heard throughout the years that clients would like to have some money in their pocket. We've heard that, throughout our department, from other caseworkers, clients, to meet the needs of, so they can do laundry, extra food, things like that. Right now, they earn $1, report it to us, we would take that off the amount of rent we can pay for them. So we are proposing that we add, item J, and it have to be $100 of earned or unearned income per month be exempt from, each month. So they can have $100 in their pocket, if they would report it to us. So if they're collecting cans, donating plasma, or doing a temp agency work, and we find out about it, that's just pretty much a wash. And
So if you receive a social security disability benefit, there's a threshold like this, it's called substantial gainful activity, or SGA. I currently, off the top of my head, I wanna say it's in the realm of $1,000 a month, where you can earn up to that amount, and it will not be counted against you for your benefit. Is this $100 figure pegged to anything like that?
that, how you've explained it, it could be. It's basically just to help, meet the other needs that we don't provide for
Oh,
the
yeah,
clients.
I mean,
So,
totally understand the
yeah,
reason for
yeah.
it, but I'm just wondering how we get to $100.
Well, it's trying to not have it where, we don't want our clients to just be stagnant on our program. We want our clients to, we don't want them just to coast on it and have be super comfortable to be on GA. So if we allow them to have $1,000 in their pocket, why wouldn't you want to be on GA forever? $100 can allow them to have a little bit of money in their pocket, allow them to do a little bit more, care for their hygiene, things like that, but also hopefully want them to get off our program, get a job, and do those things versus coast on GA. So it's trying to find the middle ground of what's enough money to meet those basic needs that we're talking about, and what's too much money where, why would I wanna get a job and get off general assistance
Sure.
program?
So it's been 0 in the past, is that correct?
Yes. If a client would report $5 to us that they earn collecting cans, we have deducted it from their rent.
Whoa.
Okay. So do they give us, kind of a monthly income statement or something like that?
All of our clients have to fill out a monthly reporting form where they disclose any type of changes in their situation. At that time, they'd be reporting any type of income that they have. We also run a DOL report, a Department of Labor report for them, and we can see if they have worked anywhere. A lot of our clients, if they are just working under the table, they don't report that to us, and we're not gonna find out about that. But there are plenty of clients that are very honest with us and will let us know that they collected $5 from donating cans.
So, this monthly income report, and you mentioned another report,
Department of Labor, we run a DOL report every month. And
And-
internally.
But do clients generate this, or do we?
No, our department does, and it just runs the social security numbers for all of our clients.
And I note in here that, there's considerable third-party reimbursement income, and, portions of this are from the Social Security Administration. So the offset provisions relative to that, say I am on disability, SSI, Medicaid, how does that work?
You wouldn't be eligible for a program. If you have, social security, Medicaid, any of that, any federal benefits, you would not be eligible for general assistance.
Okay, so the offset, and I think I played a part in establishing this in the late '80s, are for people who have applied but have not been awarded yet, are in general assistance, and then when they are awarded, there's kind of a payback to
Yes.
general assistance.
Yes,
for
about
that.
50% of our clientele are pending social security at this time.
What's the percentage?
50%.
Okay. And these payments that we're looking at here, those are generated by that.
Yes, and those are just for rent, non-food, that has nothing to do with any medical costs that we have incurred. So that would just be for, the general assistance portion.
So, for instance, the SSI number of 433,000 and change for fiscal year 18-19 is SSI income that general assistance recipients received as kind of as a result of their application for SSI benefits that then were offset their general assistance benefits that we had fronted them. Is that right?
The SSI line is the money that went directly into our department for, the rent that we have put up front for the clientele. So the client will get their lump sum, and then we get the lump sum for the rent benefits, the utilities, the non-food vouchers that we have put out during the time the client was pending.
Okay. And does that number, is that reflected in the $5.8 million budget number anywhere?
No.
Okay, so that number, those the total of all of those is 457,000 and change. Those buddies, then what happens to them?
I believe it just goes into the general fund.
Yeah, it's booked as revenue, so it comes in and goes into the general coffers,
Okay. All right, and you have other proposed changes here for fraud and cremation?
Yes, so currently our language for fraud, any client that receives an overpayment of benefits within our department, we are supposed to contact the sheriff's department and work with the county attorneys if it exceeds $1,500. Right now, that's 3 months of rent benefits. It seems like it's kind of a waste of taxpayer dollars to go through all of that work for $1,500. So what we'd like to do is raise that to $5,000. We talked to the county attorney's office, that would be a felony 3, or felony 4. Is it felony 3?
It says 4.
4. I believe it's felony 3 actually at that. I believe I'm wrong, Mike, what I wrote. And they think that even if it would, if they would come to an agreement, it would get dropped, it'd still be considered a felony. We would like to handle it in-house if it's anything less than that, and just have a client sit out that benefit. So if they would be potentially eligible for benefits in the future, and they defrauded the department of $1,500, you have to sit out 3 months of benefits, and then we can consider it good and come back at month 4, just not to waste
Sure.
all the time.
How common is fraud? What number of fraud cases do we have in the last fiscal year?
So right now, we are working on cleaning up our fraud cases, so I do not have an accurate count, but it is not a large number. 7 to 10 years ago, it was quite a bit. Now with the way we do business and getting the DOL reports that we get them within 24 hours of sending them away. We're able to catch things right away, so clients usually catch it within a 30-day period, versus taking 6 months to catch something. So it's very rare. We have a fraud case, and it's very, very rare that it even would exceed $1,500 right now, because we're catching those quickly. And if they are exceeding $1,500, it might be more worker error where we maybe missed something on our end, and that wouldn't be the fault of the client. But it is extremely rare that we are seeing fraud right now. Our workers are doing a great job catching stuff before it even would get that way.
Then when you uncover a case of fraud, I think you indicated you refer it to the sheriff's department, is that correct?
We are supposed to be working with the county attorney's office and the sheriff's department.
Okay,
If it exceeds
If
1,500.
it exceeds $1,500, yes.
okay. And currently, of those referrals, have any of them been charged?
Yes. Over the last 5 to 10 years, we have had some people charged, yes.
I mean, a handful, or what do you?
Again, this is one of the areas that I am working on cleaning up. So I don't have the exact stats for you. I can get that information, but as of right now, I don't have. We've had one case I came across, it was $1,500, and the lady had charges. She had a rap sheet, but from us, she ended up, it was 2 years she served in jail. So I know there was other stuff, but it seemed like kind of a waste of, we weren't her first rodeo, but it was us that sent her away for the 2-year period, so
Right.
it's just.
You know, if I'm looking at this, and you have continuous cases, current monthly county benefits, 438. Okay, that's kind of the caseload, is that right? Okay.
The monthly case, yes.
So it would be single digits under that number?
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
negligible.
yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds reasonable. And then the cremation assistance?
The cremation assistance is biannually. In October, we raise those rates, and that's based on the consumer price index. So those rates are already effective. They went into effect October 1st. So those have already been in effect. It's just updating them in our guideline review. They went from $10.50 to $10.88. The big thing that I guess it's not a big thing, but I'm asking for permission to do, for whatever reason it went from October to October, I'm asking if it can go in line with our biennial guideline review and then be effective January 1, just like our guidelines are. And I have proposed that to the mortuaries and crematories, and they have agreed to that as well.
And how many mortuaries, crematoriums are involved here?
About 20 to 25,
Are they all in Douglas County?
yes.
I'm surprised we don't have a higher rate for obese, the extremely morbid.
We do.
Okay.
So that's just,
'Cause it
that's
costs
our
them
general,
more.
yes, that's just our basic number.
Okay, fine.
But yes, we do have, quite a few people we've had to pay extra or triple.
And becoming more common.
Yes, yes. We have a breakdown, of probably 10 items of where we pay more, so, yeah.
That should be.
So it appears, again from the snapshot, that in 18-19, we did 208.
Yes,
And that was at the 1,050 or 1,088 rate.
on average, it would have been that 10.50 rate. But we have some people that we've had to pay for extra fees due to their size. So, I can get you that exact figure. Cremation assistance is one of our fastest growing, areas. So, our budget for that, we exceeded our line item for that last year, which was 270. This year it was raised to 300,000, and we're right on track for that.
So going back, I mean, we didn't always cremate people, we buried them.
Yes, we used to bury, we stopped burying people, I don't have the exact date.
Altogether, because for a while we said if somebody for religious purposes would prefer to be buried,
So as long as
will allow it.
I've been with the county, we have 10 years in January, it has been strictly cremation unless it's a Jane or John Doe. Or it has been, for whatever reason, the authorities have asked us to bury. And I know of, I think maybe a handful of burials that we've done.
Okay.
Okay. So the change that you would like to see is a fee schedule following the same schedule as the biennial guidelines review and be effective. So how will that trigger automatic increases then?
We will just do it when we do it the biennial guideline review. We will, increase those. So the only change is to the date, so there will not be, we will still follow the CPIU, increase those totals and send them out the letter, to the crematories and mortuaries, just as we do now, and it will be effective January 1, in those 2 years following.
Okay. And the gender neutral pronouns.
Yes, and that's just something we're gonna do throughout our entire guidelines, just to make all of our pronouns gender neutral, because we obviously are experiencing, we have clients that are non-binary, and so we're just making them gender neutral, just to get with the times.
Non-binary. New term for me.
But those are, everything else, things that we're talking about within the department are more policy related, they're not guideline related. But this is pretty much just the anything that affects the guidelines that we would need approval for.
Do you all still do bus tickets?
We do still do bus tickets. Everybody that participates in any type of job training, we provide them with bus tickets to do so, doctor's appointments, anything that we're requiring them to do to get back and forth from the department, we give them bus tickets to do that. And then we also continue to do transportation, with people that are trying to get out of the county.
Okay.
Question on that, if I may, Jim, is it you, Beth? I noticed just a couple, but of our clients do live in Sarpy County. One in Bellevue and a couple here in 68147. How does that work?
Those are a couple safe houses that are for trafficking victims.
Okay, fine.
Yes. Yep.
Very good. Good answer.
Usually I have an asterisk and, yeah, so I apologize about that.
No, that's a legitimate explanation.
Yeah, this is a great map. I'm a kind of a map guy, and so I'm fascinated by the spread here. And I don't know if there's been any change, or if you keep statistics going back, if this has moved around at all, but I'd be.
It's pretty much the same as it's been.
Okay.
We're
But you do have
Yes.
historical
Yes.
information going back sometime?
Yes.
I'd be interested in looking at that at some point. So Waterloo, 68069, 0 cases.
Yes.
Wow.
Typically out in that area, we don't, probably this year's probably a little bit higher numbers,
Mhm.
than we typically have.
Mhm. And Claire, you're 68112?
Yep. Yep.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else?
No, this is, pretty much what we have, unless anybody has any questions on
This will be coming back to the board for approval in November, is that?
Yes, we're planning on November 26th. It will be our second public hearing, and that's where we will accept any additional feedback. What we'll do is get these revisions out to all of the locations. We have our guidelines posted now, and then have them posted within our department. And then we'll close that public hearing, and then December 10th is when we'll bring it to the board for approval.
Well, that's great, and I want to commend you. This is an excellent presentation and really informative. I think I've told you before, I think the world of general assistance. You guys do some of the best work of any department in the county, serving a real need. And I'm glad to see that you're proposing these changes. I think that, they're certainly called for. I'd be interested in revisiting the rental thing, maybe in conjunction with some of the people in the community who have some expertise in that area, because, I mean, the increase is fine. It still strikes me as $600 isn't gonna get you much in terms of renting an apartment. I know the landlord who was at the forum that we were at, and I believe they were in kind of the Fontenelle Park neighborhood, is that right? The fellow that was there? Yeah. Are those apartments in that building that he was supervising 600 range apartments?
Yeah, he would have been happy with $600. A lot of landlords are willing to accept if they were maybe charging $625, they would move down to $600, knowing that we are good for the money basically every month as long as the client does what they need to do. So that's what, like I said, we really want to instead of just handing out more and more money, if we can do a better job at client education, tenant education on our end with our clients, and then working better with the landlords, that would probably be in conjunction with that rent increase over the next 2 years. That would probably be better suited for everybody involved. And that's where we really want to go, not just let's keep upping the rent, let's educate our clients, let's educate them, and let's be, it's just have a better relationship with those landlords and everything moving forward.
Right. And then, there's been significant attention locally on the quality of the housing stock. And I don't know how we track that in terms of inspecting where our clients are staying. Do we do any proactive outreach there to see that they get the quality that we would like them to have?
For landlords that we haven't worked with in the past, if we have a question on the information that they are providing to us or what the assessor screen, if there's some difference in that, we will go out and view the property. What we want to do January moving forward is every new landlord, we are going to go out and view that property, and then we don't have it set in stone what that looks like, but probably every 2 years go back out and reevaluate that property and if you want to keep a relationship with us, to make sure, again, there's not black mold, dripping, there's not holes in the floor, things like that. So we want to be a little bit more proactive in that sense.
Super.
Do you work with Section 8 housing?
Yes.
And are those landlords, do they have like active programs that they involve you with?
Well, the thing with Section 8 and with if we work with other agencies as a whole, they usually have higher standards that the clients have to live in, and they have HUD requirements. So typically, we're not going to have major problems with those types of places because they have those HUD requirements, and that's where sometimes our amount isn't going to be enough for those housing units because they are going to be nicer housing units as well.
So when we look at this map of the geographic disbursement of recipients, does that pretty much track the rental assistance that we give? I mean, where those people are is pretty much where the rental assistance is going as well.
Yeah, these are where our clients are.
But not all clients are receiving rental
No,
assistance.
no. And right now, we don't track, we could pull a report, workwith.com to pull a report specifically of zip codes just for people that we are paying rent for.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely.
It might, I'm not trying to create more work, but it might be informative to see if there's any disparity between the people who receive rental assistance, the people who receive clothing assistance, any of the subsidies that we provide. Does it all fall into the same general category, or is there, a disbursement of different services in different geographical areas? I'm not trying to impose anything on you that you're not already doing. I think you do a great job. Claire, anything else?
Nope, looks good.
Joe?
I'm good.
Diane?
Good.
Good? Okay. Thank you very much. This is a great report. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in November.
Perfect.